But that grief model was so powerful in understanding, what shapes our behavior and what can change our behavior. Because all the evidence, everything that you need to know is out there. There's all these studies of like, this is how humans process this. This is how humans respond to authority, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. But even more important than that is, if we could kind of get on this influence train for a second, and this goes back to all this conspiracy stuff and how people get wrapped up in it, is everything that you look at.
It's interesting to consider the 5 stages of grief and how they can apply to other aspects of life. I believe that the point being made here relates to evaluating whether a conspiracy theory holds water, whether you're examining it through emotion or critical thinking. The truth of the community is more important than ever, but we need to be mindful not to let emotional bias shape our perception of the truth. Welcome back, my awoken family. It's Saturday, the weekend is finally here. Make sure to leave a positive comment to try and uplift someone who might be struggling right now. Today we're exploring mind-blowing theories, hidden truths, and powerful connections that will leave you questioning everything. Let's jump right on in.
Particles in my body are being accelerated faster than they're normally used to. Once the overall vibrational pattern of my body is more rapid, there won't be such a difference between the vibrational speed of this energy and the vibrational speed that I exist in the physical world with. It's not the raising of them, it's the fact that they are the general state at which my body and structure vibrates is higher than it was. I'm being told to step out into the space, so to speak, and experience the vastness is what I got. Just experience it. Experience not having any dimensions to work with. Experience not having up or down. So I'm going to step out of this cocoon and move forward. There seems to be like a reddish, something looks very much like my impression of what Mars looks like.
This sounded like an account of astral projection. It is one thing I have not attempted to do yet. Have any of you done so without any kind of substance influence? I'm infinitely curious about this whole thing.
I live in the very real world where everything has an explanation. But what I saw last night, it could not be explained. Last night, I went on my first red-eye trip from Vegas to North Carolina, and on the way, I saw some unexplainable things. I was flying with this captain, and he told me over the last 8 months, he has been seeing some things in the atmosphere that just haven't made sense. And lo and behold, in front of my eyes, we see these flying objects. These objects, first, they're bright like stars, but then they can in an instant fade out into nothing, and they just start moving around and flying in formations like crazy in the middle of the night. These things are moving like super quickly, and they're at an altitude that's way higher than airplanes can be at. I saw about 15 of them in the span of an hour. So now I'm here thinking, are UFOs real?
I can't help but question whether this individual is legit. The way they phrased this just seemed very off. I live in the very real world. What is that suggesting, right? Also, no date provided. Now, I'm not saying that this does not happen, what he's talking about, but I feel like this account is just for clicks because he hired a pilot's outfit or something. It doesn't look real. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, UFO is a term to describe something that cannot be identified that is in the sky. So yes, UFOs are real. Of course, it could be a bird, a balloon, a skydiver, a plastic bag in an updraft. Until it is identified, it is a UFO. The real question is, are extraterrestrial craft from beyond Earth real? And this is why I get hung up on clips like this, because a pilot would know better about the terminology. Enjoying this deep dive? Take control of your content. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If this content is resonating with you, please consider hitting that like button. It's a very small action, but it really does help spread these truths further. As always, we're looking for around 3,000 likes on this one. Also, make sure you stay till the end to see if your comment was featured from yesterday's video. Now let's crack on.
President Biden to pardon
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci. President Biden is considering issuing preemptive pardons.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement.
I think Anthony Fauci should go to jail, honestly.
They are gain-of-function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it. And you admit the truth.
Some conspiracy theories are wrong, but many are right, actually.
And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Yikes, can I even pass a comment on this, or will Big Brother come and destroy my channel? You saw it, what can I really add to it? Let's move on.
Well, by the sheer incompetence of California politicians. Did you hear the news or what?
Are you talking about the fact that the California wildfires appear to line up in the same exact path as the proposed California high-speed rail system? Also, TikTok has announced that it will be officially shutting down operations in America on January 19th. So say bye-bye. Oh, and the Japanese Yakuza leader has pled guilty to attempting to traffic nuclear materials through New York City. That's weird. That's pretty weird.
So you're saying the whispers of nuclear materials being in New York City are true? Good to know. Also not what I'm referring to.
Firefighting aircraft collides with drone over the Palisades fire last night. 10 million LA residents receive accidental evacuation warning. Nah, bro, Paris Hilton says her heart is shattered after seeing her burned down palace in LA. Everyone pray for Paris!
All very suspicious. Now, in regards to the Yakuza fella, no link to the NJ drones. He was doing this back in 2020, and the material was in Myanmar. Go figure. Interesting though that this story is propagating though, considering maybe it is to fuel the whole drone nuclear material conspiracy. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
About why we shouldn't be putting weapons in space. What was most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again during the approximately 4 years that I had the opportunity of working with him. The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Papa, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Yep, all of it's a lie. The reasons for wars, geopolitical circumstances, socio-economic circumstances, fabrications. Brace yourselves, folks. This year is going to probably have some very interesting curveballs thrown at us.
Dude, it took me right to Antarctica, man. Holy moly. And the other one's at the North Pole? How weird is that? That's not possible. Y'all gotta watch all 3 parts. Alright, as you can see, this is the Miami Mall coordinates where the aliens were. I'm going to change the west and north to south and east. And look where it takes us. Right to Antarctica. But look, y'all know it's even more weird though? Watch this. Now I'm going to take the coordinates. I'm going to change the south and the east to like, I think it's west and north or north and west. So watch this. Here it comes. Changing that to north. Changing that to west. And look where it takes me. Right to the mall. This takes me right to the mall. Okay? So then I just change the west and north around. And look where it takes me. The North Pole. Well, technically Greenland, but dude, that is wild, man.
Now, I know this particular thing is old news, right? But to be honest, you gotta give people credit for figuring things like this out. Like, how on earth did they even think like this? Like, what comes to someone's mind when this whole thing happened, you know? Either way, very interesting. Not sure if it is an Easter egg to let us know who was behind that whole thing or something else entirely. Let me know your thoughts on this, on the whole thing with the coordinates in the comments below. A massive shout out to my amazing channel members. You are the backbone of this community and you are keeping it alive and thriving. If you'd like to join and unlock some exclusive perks, please click the link in the description below. Your support really does make all of this possible. Thank you so much.
Today at the Supreme Court, we had justices comparing creators' dependence and Americans' reliance on TikTok similar to individuals' nostalgic attachments to their old clothes. So yeah, things did not go great. It was the first day of TikTok's hearing at the Supreme Court. And after listening to justices, it's being reported that the Supreme Court appears likely to uphold a new law that could force TikTok to shut down in the United States. TikTok lawyers said they will go dark on January 19th. The app will be gone from the App Store and the app will stop operating entirely in the United States. Supreme Court justices have been pressing TikTok all hearing, and it looks like it's over. Only hope now is for a delay on the ban. The court adjourned until Monday. I love using the word adjourn. It makes me feel very smart. Kevin O'Leary is still making it incredibly clear that he will buy TikTok if it is available. But the issue is, TikTok, ByteDance, is making it clear that they are not up for sale. With the ban getting closer and closer, it is possible that their tune could change, but Kevin O'Leary has made it clear that he doesn't want the algorithm. He just wants TikTok, and then he will be able to rebuild the algorithm. Scary hours in the Jack Mack household.
Right, on the whole TikTok ban thing, I got a feeling the reason they want it gone is because they cannot censor independent reporting on the platform like they can on the alphabet companies' platforms. I think the fear about, China and all that is pretty, I don't know, it's a weak excuse, I'll be honest with you.
Remember that robot from China that can crawl walls?
Yeah.
Now they fully have dispersed it. It's available. And I want you guys to watch this robot and just think about if you saw 1,000 of these coming right on in. Now just think about this. If the military decides to use this thing, this is not it can walk too, but this thing has got wheels.
Yeah.
It can go on terrain. It can go in the water. It can go on rocks.
Guy just did a tray flip.
Look at this. This is more efficient than any human. But look at its arms. It's still crawling and walking. And this is fully autonomous. It goes downstairs with no problems. Goes straight into the water.
Oh, wow.
It's like, imagine this. What are you going to do with your... Look at that. You know how hard that is to walk up slippery rocks?
I know I ask this a lot, but does it come in black?
Absolutely. Comes in camo.
No further questions.
These robots are available now. That robot is $150,000 per robot, full package, fully autonomous. It also can carry a human. You can get on the back of it. It can carry up to a 180-pound human.
Does it have a weapon system?
Yeah, you can attach guns to it, and drones can drop them off anywhere. What happens when they deploy 1,000 of these anywhere in the world? Who's stopping that?
Ooh, how long do you think it'll be before they start using these things for policing? It really will turn our world into a sci-fi dystopia. And honestly, I think it's closer than anyone really realizes.
Hollywood is here to do three things. They're telling you what your masters have already done in the past, what your masters of the earth are doing right now, and what they're getting ready to do. We get a lot of our ideas about magic from the ancient Druids. They were very magical and knew things about the universe that we don't know. And so one of the most important symbols of power in the old ancient Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And the orchestra conductors, it's made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. That's where we get the term Hollywood, because magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly. That's why today we have a place called Hollywood in which we talk about the magic of Hollywood. No, it is magic. You better go back and do some homework and find out what's really going on in Hollywood.
I think that's tied in and controlled by those people, obviously.
I'm totally convinced that Hollywood is a tool.
So do you think they use stuff like movies about aliens and things to ease people to kind of get used to that? Is that sort of a...
Bet on it.
If you think about it, Hollywood is the internet before internet. Because that's how they influenced society.
Yeah, this comes from the principles of soft disclosure. I have heard that part of ensuring they put off their plans, they have to tell us what they're going to do or what they are doing. Gotta wonder if the whole point is to get us to, manifest these things into reality on their behalf, through fear and anxiety maybe. But what do you think?
Y'all, have you heard what Mel Gibson's been saying about this whole situation?
Reminds me of the old cattle barons clearing people off the land,
And he said a whole lot more than just that. Look, I wasn't even planning on working today. I was taking today off. But he's been saying a whole bunch of stuff. Listen to what he says right here. Then we'll go back to the interview that just happened. And then we'll look at some other stuff.
It was completely toasted. I've never seen such a complete burn. It's like someone did it on purpose to really destroy every aspect of it.
Did y'all hear that choice of words that he used? And right after I played it, this app started glitching really bad. We're about to see what else said, but look at this news headline I just came across. That was the main one. Alright, back to what he said right here.
Yeah. It's pretty scary, and it'll take decades to do that too. It's like even if if it's a good idea, which I don't know if it is, but reminds me of the old cattle barons clearing people off the land, But I don't know. It just seemed a little convenient that there was no water, and that the wind conditions are right, and that there are people ready and willing and able to start fires. And are they commissioned to do so, or are they just acting on their own volition? I don't know.
TikTok, this is on the news. If y'all don't know, we can't say crap here anymore. Which is why that is my main. And someone has a good eye, because look at this interdimensional type creature they caught flying through the smoke. What is that? Oh, by the way, look behind me to see whose home was spared. Let me know what you guys think below.
I find it very interesting that someone so prolific in Hollywood would share this insight. I wonder if this is part of the soft disclosure we were just talking about to ensure they pull it off with no repercussions. As far as the otherworldly craft, I won't lie, that just looked like a helicopter to my eye, but what about you? You know, it could be a drone. Personally, I don't think it is anything supernatural, at least.
So Mel Gibson went on Joe Rogan and had some pretty interesting things to say. He might have even predicted the civilization collapse. Mel Gibson went on the Joe Rogan show today and started talking about the LA wildfires. Not only did he have a home there that was a blazing inferno, but what's more interesting is he was talking to Joe about a book he had read called The Collapse. Mel went on to say all those earmarks, the precursors of collapse, are present in our time. He went on to say it doesn't take long for a civilization to collapse, citing Jared Diamond's 2011 book, The Collapse, How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed. Mel went on to say it says all the things you need for civilization to cave in and collapse. It's an interesting observation, and we're no smarter than our grandparents. I looked this book up, and it's a New York Times bestseller, 4.5 stars. So I got interested and started researching more. And there are 5 major causes for the failure of cultures with degraded environments: human ecological impacts, changes in climate, hostile neighbors, friendly neighbors who back away, and a society's unwillingness to adapt to changing circumstances. I mean, you could cite all this in book reviews. So I feel like Mel Gibson does make a decent point here. Now, as for who's to blame for the destruction and the fires that are leaving behind, Gibson has taken a page from Donald Trump's playbook by pointing the finger directly at the state's governor, Gavin Newsom. He said, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything. He agreed with Rogan's assertion that the state had put tax dollars towards supporting the homeless population instead of preventing fires. I don't know, people. Check out this book, Collapse, because it's very interesting. And there's a lot of correlations with what's going on in the modern day world right now.
And this feeds back into what I was saying. Part of the plan, I say. At least that's what my gut is telling me. They tell you what they are going to do before they do it. Part of the programming of this reality, in my opinion. I don't trust Mel Gibson or anyone in Hollywood, but what do you think?
2009, an acoustic weapon was used against protesters in Pittsburgh. It uses really focused sound to irritate and possibly damage your ear. Guess what it can also do? Effectively extinguish a fire. Yeah, the weapon works by using geometry to create a very specific wave pattern. It creates this wave pattern where multiple waves interact to amplify each other. That's the red wave. Since we can't see the sound, water does the same thing. If 2 sources are vibrating at the same time, it creates a pattern. Constructive interference has very high waves, very low troughs. Destructive is when 2 equal waves meet and cancel each other out. The weapon exploits this phenomenon, and according to the CEO of the company,
we sell those to the military presently for about $70,000, and they're buying them as fast as we can make them.
Wind just adds fuel to the fire and spreads it quicker. That's what's happening in California right now. The cool thing about the sonic extinguisher is it actually suffocates the flame. In this example, the speaker creates high-pressure lighter lines and low-pressure dark lines, just like the water but in air. Interrupting the flow of air cuts off fuel to the fire. This guy did it with a subwoofer and a car battery. As little as 120 watts can effectively extinguish the flame. Now, California is different, and water is very effective, but California's been going through a drought. There's also a ton of plants that are naturally resistant to fire, like the pineapple and the sequoia. That's why their branches are so high. The bark on the sequoia can also be up to 2 feet thick. But due to extensive logging in the 18 and 1900s, 95% of the old growth sequoias are gone. Now add a massive budget cut to your fire department and lose all of your insurance. This is California. Suggestion: tweak these, give them to the firefighters, homeowners, and forest dudes. Or maybe these guys get together since they save so much money dropping the policy and actually help people if that doesn't hurt the bottom line too much. To our brothers, sisters, family in Cali, please stay safe.
I am convinced that reality itself can be manipulated just using frequency alone. But yeah, his wish for them to help out with the situation in California is unfortunately never going to happen. There is a lot of reasons why these fires will benefit people with substantial wealth. So do you think that they really want this to be easily prevented? If they did, it would never have happened in the first place. This disaster just wouldn't have really been a thing. Yeah, the fires may have happened, but not in the way that it's gone down.
Hey, it's Glamham with my smoky Los Angeles throat.
Since a suspected arsonist was caught, possibly connected to the Kenneth fire, which, by the way, I have a photo of, let's take a look at homelessness in Los Angeles. Did you know that half of the LA Fire Department's resources are spent on homelessness? As a resident of Los Angeles, I know that Mayor Karen Bass prioritizes homelessness. It's in all of her media and always has been. Let's take a look at her 2023-24 budget. It even opens with confronting homelessness, $1.3 billion. And the firefighters make it on page 17. Let's take a look at 2024-25. Again, the first agenda is homelessness. Okay. And finally, we get to firefighters. And apparently training. Yet, currently serving Fire Chief Kristen Crowley says that training was actually one of the things that would suffer with Mayor Bass's $17.5 million budget cut. But back to the homeless connection with fires. Expressing any negative opinion towards the homeless, I mean the unhoused as we're supposed to call them in Los Angeles, is heavily frowned upon and met by shaming. It's rare for someone to speak out, so let's get back to our LA city budget. Top of the list, 24-25, is a huge boost for LAPD, an increase of $126 million. Let's scooch down to the bottom, second only to street services, the LA Fire Department with a budget cut of $17.5 million. Yet, half of the fire department's resources for the city of Los Angeles go to the homeless. My heart goes out to all of you impacted by these unprecedented fires. I'll see you in the comments. Take care.
Smell that? Reeks like an agenda to me, but what do you think?
Nanoplastics have been found to disrupt the dopamine system and social adaptations as a consequence. And what we're talking about are these tiny little shreds of plastic that are everywhere these days. We talk about it a lot on this channel. It's in the food you eat, it's in the air you breathe, it's in the water you drink, it's in the products you use. These things are unavoidable. And you say, I have to be an idiot to eat plastic this big. We're talking about nanoplastics. We're talking about 100 times smaller than this little speck of dust that's on the screen right here. Extremely difficult to avoid. And scientists wanted to see how they affected the brain, so they did a mouse study in Korea. They divided male offspring mice into groups exposed to nanoplastics during mid-gestation, late gestation, postnatal, juvenile, adolescent, and adult stages. And then they conducted behavioral studies on the rats, such as locomotion, social behavior, and nest building, and they were also able to measure brain activity in regions tied to dopamine. So the results were that the social behaviors of the mice were notably altered, particularly mice exposed during late gestation and early adulthood. Interestingly, you would think that this would be a gestation only thing or maybe like a natal phase thing, but apparently early adulthood exposure to nanoplastics can increase anxiety-like behaviors in mice, such as freezing when exposed to new environments. And additionally, neural activity in key dopamine-related areas, such as the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, were disrupted. Meanwhile, mice that were exposed during mid-gestation showed reduced movement, and those exposed during adolescence had a heightened neural activity, but no significant behavioral changes. Scientists believe that there is a reasonable amount of overlap with these type of behaviors in human beings, and those studies will be coming eventually, I suppose. But it's another frightening thing about micro and nanoplastics because they are nearly impossible to avoid. They're just everywhere in our environment. And we're always looking for, or when I say we, I mean we as a society, are always looking for an explanation for the increase in younger generations' anxiety, depression, autism spectrum disorders, and things like that. And a lot of people want to blame TV or media or teachers or school, but I think that exposures to chemicals that block your dopamine receptors and disrupt the entire dopamine system in your brain could perhaps be a better explanation.
At this point, it is clear that this happened intentionally. This is four-dimensional divide and conquer, ensuring we struggle to get along because our brain's chemical balance is all skewed. At least that's what I think, but what do you think? Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, please consider hitting that like button. It's a small action, but it makes a massive difference. And don't forget to share this video to help grow our Awoken family. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and stay curious. Until next time.